Hey Benjamin, how are you today?
I'm doing well, Abe. How about you?
Good, good. I'm a big fan of this show and I really like Earl. I think he's definitely one of the most endearing characters. How similar are the two of you?
I give it about I give it a 30/70. I think we're about 30% the same, but a bit more I think he's a bit more on edge and a lot less critical probably than I am. So, he's not so much a cynic in the same ways that I think I can be. But there are that 30% is weighted. It feels like a strong 30%.
Are you a good cook?
I'm decent. My brother is the chef in the family, so again, I'm stealing from wherever I can. That's what all the good artists do.
I feel like thinking about Earl in season one, I just picture him desperately trying to find an outlet. And I think in season two, we get a little bit more, seriousness and just him trying to not repeat the same mistakes that he made before.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. I think, in season two, um, I love the fact that Earl gets a little bit of context. He's a stranger. We're meeting Earl amidst a bunch of people who know each other in season one. And so in season two, he gets some context, and I think that helps to contextualize who he is a bit more.
Like having storylines that aren't so related to a lot of the main cast and Earl giving Earl his own, universe.
Well, less that, I mean, that to me, it's more so, um, it's the way that almost like moving out of the carceral state into a halfway house. It's like you're not moving back to your life. You're moving to another new life. Okay, you made a life in prison. You somehow, patchwork quilted a life together, but you don't go home to your own life. You go home to another new life. And I think that's what we saw in season one. And now he gets the opportunity to bring his real actual life into the fold of that halfway house, that space of Nancy and Rainey and everyone else. So I think that becomes just powerful for him and sort of palpable in the way the season plays out.
I think it's also just it's interesting the way that the show weaves in performance art and sort of heightened reality. Do you enjoy engaging with those scenes and those modes?
Yeah, I think we're sort of, at least with this project, fixated on just doubling down that like TV can do new things. It can do things that a lot of our forms don't have the luxury of doing. And so we're just like, let's find out. Why not?
I know that this is one of your first acting roles. Have you appreciated the opportunity to get to be part of this ensemble in that way?
Um, I mean, not only just appreciating to be a part from an acting position, but from a relational and community position. I think being able to be around people who champion your well-being on a day-to-day basis outside of what I do as a performer has been pretty special. And I feel like I got really lucky in that regard.
Has anything about acting surprised you?
Um, Not particularly. I think uh there are some differences from doing stage work and black box theater and performing, but I really look at performance the way I look at poetry. You know, the foundations are the same. It's about taste, it's about perspective, um, it's about form. And so a form in theater is just a different form than what I'm doing on TV, then it's different than unscripted stuff, but it's still all a performance ultimately, just like a poem is a poem, but sometimes the form needs 3 lines and sometimes it needs 300. It just depends on what you're doing. Um, so
I like what you said about, you're doing new things on TV these days. I think that this is a TV show, but it's also a lot of other things. And that's I think it's hard to really explain what that is without, really engaging with it and having seen it.
yeah, yeah. And I hope people will allow themselves to be challenged by that. We understand that you as a viewer, as viewers, we've acclimated to a particular type of narrative style, which is all the more reason to upset that style. And that should rub you the wrong way. Hopefully, you either love the show or you hate it, but it made you feel something, and I think that's special. in this time, if nothing else.
It's also sometimes hard to tell what is real and what is heightened reality. And you're watching an episode, and however many minutes in, you're still sort of trying to process exactly whether this should be taken literally or if
Yeah,
everything is a little bit larger than life.
yeah, yeah. And I mean, you know, praise be to a show that makes us think, farther than how much does this gun, do this thing, or how much does this sex do this thing. It's like I appreciate that a show, to hear you say, "Hey, the show's making me, I don't know." Well, good, like good. I think, but again, I'm coming from a poetry background, and spending time with the questions, I think, is one of the best parts of engaging with art.
One of the more memorable episodes featuring Earl this season has to do with a drink made of a lot of cheeses. What were you actually drinking during that episode?
Ricotta and yeah, a lot of cheese, man. I can't, all I gotta say is that my stomach is still recovering, and Starz has great insurance. Shout out to all the health staff who were there for that episode, special people. I was a terror to be around during that part of the show, honestly. I think some of my exploits are still reverberating through space and time uh, from that time. So yeah, I mean, it was good. It was good. Um, Method acting, you got to drink the cheese.
Well, I think that's the best possible note to end on. Thank you so much, Benjamin. It was a pleasure to
Yeah,
meet you.
yeah, likewise.